Hello, it's Rose Davidson from doesbiz.com. I hope you're very well tonight. Sorry about all the noise in the background. I'm playing around and still learning how to use this program. So welcome to Business Basics for this evening. And I thought I might change something up and talk about training needs analysis for your business. So, if you are a business owner, or even if you're by yourself, a training needs analysis or a TNA is very important to have. And why do you think that might be? Well, it can only be because you know then what type of training is required either by you or by your staff. So, if you want to leave your comments in the feed below, I'd really appreciate that. Tonight's freebie is obviously the documents associated with this live stream, and you can find them in Business Basics Facebook group, and the link is in the comments. And so if you'd like to join, it's free, and you'll find all the documents and previous videos under the Units tab. So I hope you'll pop in and join me in there, and the others that are there as well. And we'll just we'll get going. So hopefully this will work for me, and it'll be good because I've decided this week I'm going to animate my slides rather than just have static ones, because they're all a little bit boring. So please bear with me while I work it out. Oh, that one worked. That's cool. Okay, we'll see what happens, shall we? So what is a training needs analysis? Well, a training needs analysis is the process of identifying the gap between employee training and the need for relevant training. It's the first stage in the training process, and it looks at each side of the operational area of the job. So what does that means that if you have an employee, they may be short in some skills somewhere along the line, and they need to be looked at. And you can look at it from an employer's perspective, or you can look at it from employees' perspective. The training needs analysis is the backbone of any successful organisation, and so you need to make a checklist, obviously, that addresses the direct needs of the individuals involved. So, you would ask the employee to put the things that they need. They feel that they need training in, especially if there's a skills gap somewhere in their current position, or perhaps they're going to be moving sideways or upwards. And so this is a great opportunity to find out what training skills they need, and you can identify those. So the next thing is the 7 steps to conducting an effective skills gap analysis, which is part of the training needs analysis. So you need to actually conduct a skills gap analysis so you can figure out what's going on with the employee and how the training will benefit the business as well. So what is a skills gap analysis? Well, it's basically a tool that is used to determine what gaps exist between the employee's existing skills and those skills that are required by your business to reach its future goals. So establishing what training or hiring requirements are needed to fill those areas where skills gaps are apparent. A skills gap analysis is also beneficial for identifying what the best strategies for closing the skills gap in your organisation are. So why should you conduct a skills gap analysis? Well, essentially, it will help your business move forward as you will gain invaluable insights into your workplace. And these benefits could include being able to do strategic workforce planning. So because in a work environment there is this is normally a constant evolving thing. You need to think about who you're hiring and who you're training, and when and how they can help you achieve your company's objectives. Getting an overview of the entire business, so from the top down you can consider every aspect of your business and determine which team or department, if you've got more than 2 or 3 employees, that doesn't have the necessary resources to meet the business's objectives. It will also allow you to delve even deeper into your own company makeup and look at specific individuals in each of these teams or departments, as well as determine what skills each team and individual requires training in, or where new hires need to be brought in to fill the gaps, so a temp or a full-time employee. It also is optimising your long-term recruitment strategy. So you don't want to hire reactively every time a new need arises. You want to foresee the skills gaps that are going to be happening and when these gaps are likely to arise. And as that happens, you want to put into place a long-term recruitment strategy to ensure these gaps are always filled. And it increases productivity as well. So by providing your existing employees with the requisite training they require to plug the gaps in their particular skill set, it will make them infinitely more productive. So it also provides career development and to fill their skills gaps now, as well as providing training to fill their skills gaps that may arise in the future. And you will benefit from a contented employee whose career development needs are being met. It's also getting you ahead of your competition. So carrying out a skills gap analysis will see you ahead of your competition by filling in those areas that you are weak in. Not only will it help you to hire smart, but it will also help you jumpstart innovation and get ahead of the curve in your industry. And you remember that I spoke some weeks ago about promoting innovation and change in the business, and one of those things was training appropriately and making sure that the people within the organisation were trained and so that they could fulfil the objectives of the business. So how do you conduct an effective skills gap analysis? Well, firstly, you need to plan your analysis, and it should be done at 2 levels, at an individual level and at a team level. So you need to plan your analysis effectively, and you need to do this to establish who you will need to talk to, and any team leads and staff leads for employees. Who exactly do you need to talk to find out about the skills from different departments are missing? Team leads can help you with uncovering the skills gaps with the individual employees in their respective roles. And you also need to define your organisation's future goals. Where do you want your organisation to be in a year or in 5 years? You need to ask yourself a few questions to be able to know where you're heading, to figure out what skills you need from employees to get where you want your business to be. So it's also a catch-up on the future of work trends, and you also need to consider the future of work trends. So as well as determining what you need to do right now to get your business to where it needs to go, you also need to consider the future of any work trends in your industry. For example, you might need to know which jobs have the potential to become automated, what skills needs are currently on the rise, which currently not yet existing positions will your company need in the future. So to find out the questions, you can utilise resources such as 100 Jobs of the Future or the Future of Jobs report of 2018, and that will assist you. And rapid technology breakthroughs continue to move the frontier which lies between the jobs that you need to in your business, the jobs that need to be done by humans, and the jobs that can be carried out by algorithms or machines. So that brings us to point 2. So you need to determine the key skills that are needed for the future to remain competitive. So you need to adopt new technologies and embrace new practices to achieve growth. But the speed with which organisations are being bombarded with new developments makes it incredibly difficult for businesses to constantly find employees with specific skill sets to use these technologies. So to mitigate against being reactive every time a new skills gap opens up or is identified in your workforce, use skills gap analysis to determine where the gap in the skills are, and based on your future goals and where your industry is going, establish what skills you are going to need to achieve your business goals in the future. Okay, so you need to measure your current skills. So what is your company's current skills inventory? And you can find out the answers to these questions in multiple ways. Firstly, you can examine individual employees' key performance indicators or KPIs, and this will allow you to determine how each employee contributes to the business. You can conduct skills assessments by using surveys and or interviews with your employees. And you can establish a 360-degree feedback process whereby you determine the skill set of your employees by getting feedback from everyone who comes into contact with that particular employee. So that could be peers, line managers, etc., as well as having the employee themselves tell you where they see their skills gaps. You may also check out individual and team performance reviews to see where employees and teams are lacking certain skills. And if you have lucky enough to have an HR department, they might be able to help you gather that and analyse that feedback for you. So there's a couple of places that you can get these forms from, and they're free apparently. So it's 15.5, so 1.5 and 5 as in spelled out. Office Vibe, Cultural AMP, and their tools, Avalar. So they're tools and softwares that you can use to work out these things. And if anyone's interested, I can put those in the group comments when I download the video. So you also need to find out where the gaps are and identify the specific categories and challenges. So by conducting the skills gap analysis, you will know the gaps you have now and how it differs from where you want your organisation to be in the future. And this will identify specific challenges your company or business is having or will be facing in terms of workforce skills. So where could the gaps be? You might find them that like retail employees are having trouble finding in-store candidates with appropriate technical experience. So there's a clear skills gap. A manufacturing industry, they're predicting that 2 million manufacturing jobs will go unfilled over the next decade due to the shortage of strong STEM skills in both current and new employees, and that deficit is looking to increase to 7.9 million people by 2030, with a resulting loss of revenue as high as $607.1 billion to industry and business. So within the next 3 years, the financial and business services sector is expecting to have a talent deficit of almost 3 million workers due to a rapid rise in the adoption of disruptive technologies. And this deficit will be a result of a lack of qualified candidates capable of using these technologies. So by 2030, that skills gap will result in a deficit of 10.7 million employees, equating to about $1.3 trillion in lost revenue. So there are some great statistics, and there apparently 54% of companies are already suffering from digital skills gaps, which I find quite amazing in this day and age. And you need to put your findings into actions. So once you discover your skills gaps, you can start planning to fill them. So you can do this through a combination of training or through hiring. So reskill and upskill your existing employees to allow you to maximise the skills in the employees you currently have. Doing this will help close the gap between their current skill level and your desired skill level. And of course you will benefit by not only developing their existing skills, but by training them for your future business needs. They are more likely to stick with you because you are investing in their career development. And you can provide this training yourself, or you can draw on the expertise of professional training firms to carry out workshops or conduct training sessions or hold seminars for your employees. So it's not hard to do. And as well as training employees to close the skills gap, you could invest in subscriptions in industry publications to keep employees abreast of new and emerging technologies. You could run employee mentoring programs to aid the transfer of skills and knowledge. You could have employees attend industry-specific events or conferences to gain new and much-needed skills. You could develop apprenticeship and internship programs to fill your talent pipeline, or you put into place skills assessments to use in your recruitment process. You could hire contingent workers, so if your skills gap is too wide, consider hiring in new knowledge to bridge that gap. So adapt your hiring process to take into account the potential skills gap that you may encounter in the future, and hire prospectively and screen candidates for the skills that you might require, anticipating those gaps. So don't just hire willy-nilly. You need to keep in mind the future of your business, and don't just hire because someone's left the organisation and the person that you hire next may not have the skills that are required to fill the gap. So you just need to keep that in mind. So you need to look at each section of your organisation and instead of the organisation as the whole. So you need to look at each section if you have different departments. So you examine them and assess which aspects are lacking or performing beyond your desired, below your desired standard. You'll want to refresh and improve all training by identifying these key areas, and they will show you where to place the biggest emphasis. And devote the majority of your time to these targeted areas and gently touch on the things that people seem to be doing well. So compare yourself to similar organisations and what are they doing differently from you, and how is this helping them to succeed. If you're seeing an enviable outcome from other organisations, you might want to jump aboard the same train, and this may mean overhauling a lot of current policies and implementing new technology. And when things change, everyone is going to need a training update. Again, that brings in promoting innovation and change, and that's a whole new kettle of fish altogether. You need to perform individual assessments, so you may not have a lot of people doing the same work. Certain tasks may be delegated to very small groups or even individuals, so you need to measure the performance of these individuals to determine where their strengths and weaknesses lie. Training can boost productivity, but only if the training is tailored to the areas where productivity needs to be improved, and you may find that some people need very specific training. Sometimes broad training is just not good enough. So you need to consider your industry, and everyone goes some sort of basic training usually before they start a job. So you've got a bit of induction, and if they totally new, you'd have a handover period where they'd be instructed in the operations of the position. And sometimes, like this is required by law in some industries. So everything differs from industry to industry. So how familiar are members of your organisation with the trends and standards within your industry? So try providing them with the bigger picture. Just don't leave them in their little cocoon and, leave them out in the cold, basically. So you need different training programs for different roles, obviously. So a fire clerk doesn't need the same kind of training as an accountant would need. So there are different roles within your organisation, and the people who fill them need to understand how you expect them to do their part. So arranging a training program needs, you need to organise that to fit each existing job. So a one-size-fits-all approach will leave certain people lacking vital information, and this can cause a lot of problems down the track. So you need to train for common job requirements. So have you ever trained individuals for using software, monitoring an antivirus program? What about data entry? The tools they use and the small tasks they're required to perform comprise a significant part of their responsibilities. So though these things may seem routine, there's no use in creating complications by expecting people to figure them out on their own, particularly when it comes to matters surrounding IT and security concerns. You should never let people poke around and guess how they're expected to fulfil their duties. I did that. I was a document controller on a very large pipeline construction project, and I was just told to sit in front of the computer and learn how to use the document control system. I mean, that was all very nice, but and I started out as a lowly admin assistant. I ended up being the head document controller just because I taught myself how to use this system. But it's not for everybody, and some people just aren't tech savvy. So that training needs analysis process, and there's a little bit. So over the last gone too far. So over the last 20 years, the critical nature of man in the loop has changed from simply manual dexterity and procedural operation to a state in which their decision-making and cognitive abilities, data assimilation, communication skills and attitude are all crucial. Besides the job structure of the personnel operationally involved with modern systems, this has diversified in direct proportion to the complexity of the technology. This has also fueled the need for a formal approach to training. So the task of training can be broken down into several discrete components, each addressing a different part of the overall learning process. And this breakdown is like psychomotor skills, procedural skills, knowledge transfer, communication skills, colossal thinking, attitude learning, performance training, and physiological stress. And the role of a training analysis is to build a formal bridge between the available design data and the training media and the training objectives to facilitate the transfer of training elements to the operational environment. So that's all a bit technical, really. So a TNA is defined as the identification of training requirements and the most cost-effective means of meeting those requirements. And McGee-Thayer's three-level analysis is there's an operational analysis, there's a task analysis, and then there's the person analysis. So they all intertwine together. So the types of training transfer is a positive transfer. So a positive transfer is when prior learning or training facilitates acquiring a new skill or solving a new problem. So in this situation, the individual performs better than he would have without had the prior training. So yeah, bit of a technical thing there. So, and a negative transfer is when the prior learning or the training that's been given hinders acquiring a new skill or solving a new problem. So in this situation, the individual performs worse than that he would have had he not been exposed to the prior training. So obviously positive, if you give good training, they perform better. Negative training, they perform worse. And then there's the zero transfer, and past experience or training neither enhances nor hinders acquiring a new skill or solving a new problem. So how to conduct a training needs analysis? Well, poorly conducted needs analysis can lead to training solutions that train the wrong competencies, can also train the wrong people, and can teach using the wrong learning methods. So that's it for me tonight for the TNA. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a bit long-winded, wasn't it? A few thingies happening in the background, and noises and all sorts of other things. So I hope you enjoyed that tonight. If you did, I would love you to share it on your Facebook page, and if you got something out of it, I'm sure your friends will get something out of it as well. So if you would like to leave your comments in the thread below under this video, I would love that a lot. As I said, if you want to download the documents associated with tonight's program and previous broadcasts, just click on the link in the comments and you'll find that in Business Basics, the Facebook group, and you'll find them under the Units tab. And next week I will be discussing the best CRMs for a small business. That was one of the topics that I was asked for. So if you don't know what a CRM is, it's a customer relationship management software. So I'll be talking about those in a little bit more depth, and hopefully I'll have practiced my slide animations a little bit better. So thank you for joining me tonight on 5 Foot Rope TV, and while you're here, please make sure that you look at the other videos on the page. They share some really great knowledge, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy some of the amazing content. So that's all from me tonight. I've really enjoyed having your company. My name's Rose Davidson from doesbiz.com, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.